Good morning there, Ben. We're here with Studio on the Lake. Hey, here's a little practice chainsaw project. The standard old welcome sign with the chainsaw. And I thought it would be kind of fun. In fact, I did. There's three of these. There's an owl, and there's a welcome sign, obviously. And then I did a bear. That's right. Jordy did a bear. So this is standard chainsaw fare. So all the guys that do chainsaw do this sort of thing, and it's a block type of lettering that is so common, and you're just as likely to see this sign standing up by itself or bare. So they block out the letters really quickly. If you know anything about blocking out letters, and you've done that, a W, an M have 1.5 letter spaces, so in this case the block would be need to be a little bit bigger. And the whole goal behind this is you've got one single blade element, and they want to do these fairly quickly, and it's kind of hard to do compound shapes when you're the equivalent of taking a knife and trying to just hold it out at arm's length like the machete and get those in there. So I kind of cheated a little bit. I've got a grandson here this week, and I may or may not get to the chainsaw part of it, and I may not get the dime bar on there, but I thought these were kind of fun, and this is kind of the first one, and it actually turned out pretty cool, I think, without having any finish on it. So well, I cheated and took liberty, and I'm going to take a little bit, but I'm going to try to keep the spirit of this thing as if I had a full 2 foot or 3 foot sign sitting out there, and this obviously would go either in the hand of a bear or underneath a fish, or just by itself hanging above something. So I outlined it initially, and I'm going to try to outline each of these blocks. So just imagine that what I'm doing with this burning pin is what you would do with your chainsaw. Now the one that I've got coming is MS 193C, or got coming. I shouldn't say that. It's actually sitting on the ground in the background here on that, and it's got a standard bar on it. But I do have a Canon dime tip 12-inch bar that's going to go with it. So these would be the initial cuts that you would make on that slab. Now the chainsaw guys like doing these. Number one, they sell really well, and it kind of makes sense. You could put anything on there. Welcome to the lake, the lake, something along the lines, the cabin. You get the concept, and they're just block letters. And ironically, I tend to write in capitals when I write anymore. I always did, even as a kid. I would get yelled at by teachers for making something in all capital letters. And now that we got the grandkids learning letters, it just makes no sense to me why you even need small letters. So there's that thing laid out, and like I said, once again, the M and the W are a little bigger letters, and they would be laid out 1.5 times the size of the block when you scratch those blocks out. And obviously, if you're centering on a block of wood, you'd count the letters. If you got 7, the number 4 would be the one in the middle. So now here's taking the Elite power carver, and it's got a saber tooth 3/32 burr on it. And once again, I'm kind of trying to keep in spirit. If you had a chainsaw, you would now come down along the sides and canton that saw blade off at an angle left to right, and you take that sliver of wood out around. And what you're doing at that point is you're going to bring the foreground, bring those letters to the foreground. So you're removing the background away, and with them being block letters and side by side, you're not as concerned about getting in between the letters. And you'll notice that the way these guys design these, I didn't come up with this stuff. This is standard chainsaw fare and economy of cuts. And that's one of the beauties of these. Several of the chainsaw carvers out there, you can go look at Ryan Cook stuff, Jordy Johnson doing that sort of thing. Those guys are in my links down below. So minimal economy of cuts on this, and now I've got a 3/32 ruby burr in there, or sapphire burr, and I'm coming back, and this is kind of sanding them, and I'm cleaning up the lines just a tad. But at this point, I'm left and right with the tip of that. Same thing you do at the bar of the chainsaw, and I'm undercutting each of those letters in between themselves. So it is possible the next couple of days. Like I said, I've got two more videos, and I didn't have a lot of time. Like I said, we got visitors this week. They take up time because they've got to go fishing, they've got to play with archery, they've got to ride their go-kart. They got to do all the things at the lake here that you would expect to do. When they're a little bit older, I suppose they'll not require so much care and feeding, and they'll be solely teenagers kind of hanging out down by themselves, or maybe even doing one of the great things at the lake is to curl up by a window, read a book, that sort of thing. Those of you that have vacationed on a lake or live on a lake, you know what you do on the lake in the summertime. It's just kind of relaxing and to get away with from life in general. I wish I had cut the end of that off, because you see what I'm messing around with right there. These guys will like to turn this, they'll do decorative cuts on the end of these things. And that one that I did on the right side at the end of welcome, when I'm looking at it, it looks like another letter that didn't get finished, so I would have modified this at some point and taken that out of there, because it doesn't read well in the grand scheme of things. This all told took 20 minutes, maybe 15 minutes, 20 minutes. So the next thing you would do is you'd come back, in this case, or in the chainsaw case, and myself included, I'd grab my right angle grinder and I'd run those smooth. And for all practical purposes, you're down, the carving on this is done, and you're down to finishing. And one of the interesting things they do is they'll either spray paint this black, or they'll burn it. I had a couple little micro torches that I used to have sitting beside me there, and I don't anymore. They got burned up, and probably burned spectacularly well. I tried it with a lighter, didn't quite do the trick. And once again, this is all in good fun. And then you'd burn it, and you'd come back and you'd clean it off. So eventually, I gave up, threw a ruby sanding burr in there, and you can kind of see that this gave it an antique character. But you would paint this whole thing. A lot of times they'll paint them black, and then they'll come over and grind off the paint everywhere, but in the lower background. In this case, a standard thing there. I've got a cold cup of coffee sitting there, and I thought I'd throw that on there. And if the coffee is really strong, or tea, you can actually stain wood in increments. In fact, when I used to do a little bit of guitar repair, for a guitar shopping out in California, old antique guitars, coffee was sometimes, or tea was a good go-to stain. So there you go. That's what it would look like, and I like it. Look, it seems to be kind of neat. There might even be a market for these little ones. You see what I mean about that letter on the end? I think I'd get rid of. So I got 2 more of these coming in the next day or two, as soon as I get the editing done. Hey, thanks a lot. This has been Ben with Studio on the Lake in the mini chainsaw practice series.